Thank you all for tuning in. The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch III, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Malden, Missouri. Joining me from more than acceptable safe social distances are my guests for today. First, we have Kalee Boisvert. How do you say it?
It's Boisvert. Close.
Boisvert. Nice. Oh my, so very French. Okay.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Boisvert?
Boisvert.
Boisvert.
Yeah.
Okay, Boisvert. And also we have returning contestant Doug Lawrence. How you doing, Doug?
Hello, everybody. Doing good. Doing good.
Awesome. Yeah, I was excited to see you were rejoining the cast of thousands, and because you were a great guest before, so hopefully you and Kalee will have a good time today, and people will enjoy watching this. So, first question I always ask my guests are, what are you reading? So, Kalee, let's start with you. What are you reading?
Oh, I just finished a book last night. I think it's called like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow or something like that.
Okay.
It's fiction. It's so good. It's about I don't know, relationships and stuff, whatnot, or like at the theme of it, but it's like video games they make together. And so
Okay.
I grew up playing video games like Mario World and stuff. So if you were have any inclination towards liking video games, it's a great book, but it's sad. I feel like all good books are sad. That's what I'm learning lately.
Okay. All good books are sad.
All really good books, like fiction, all really good fiction books are sad. Oh.
Okay, good, because I'm working on writing a nonfiction book right now, and I was trying to think of how to make it sad.
Yeah. Nonfiction is good. It's usually uplifting. There's some sort of message to share, but fiction, I feel like the amazing books I've been reading lately, I'm like, they're so amazing, but so emotional. Like I need time afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting. I didn't read the book, but I did watch the movie for Ready Player One, and I found that really interesting. So I may pick up the book here when I'm not quite as busy. But
Yes.
Books about video games sound interesting. I may, just as a matter of principle, have to get a paper copy of the book, because I think there's an irony in there.
Yeah, I did digital, but I always read books on my phone because I have a little guy, and if I'm holding a book, he's gonna rip it out of my hand for sure.
Okay. How old is he?
He's 1.5.
1.5. Ooh.
Yeah.
So, okay. Cool. Okay, well, Doug, you're up. How about you? What are you reading?
Well, if you'd asked that question a month ago, I would have probably had to say 0. But I had a friend of mine that, suggested I read a book, and it's The 4 Sacred Gifts by it's an Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times, written by Dr. Anita Sanchez. And wow, if I were to show you my graveyard of books, and that's all the unread ones, this one won't make it to the graveyard, because I'll definitely get through it.
Wow.
It's powerful.
Very cool.
It's powerful, and more so from the aspect of, with everything that's going on in the world today, if we take it back to the Indigenous times and the leadership that the elders and that provided, there are pathways through this that we can actually get through. So yeah, it's a good read.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's I found there's a lot of wisdom in what we might call native cultures that we've either forgotten or forsworn, and for whatever reason, the uncivilized nations of the world know things that the rest of us might not, and And just because civilization is different doesn't mean they're not smart. But yeah. Okay, so the Four Sacred Gifts, and by Dr. Sanchez. So cool.
Correct.
Okay. I'll have to remember that one too. Not sad though. I'm guessing.
Well, there is some sadness because the part I like about the book so far is that there's lived experience that they're sharing. So they've gone through some very difficult times growing up, and it's been a challenge for them to do so. So there are periods of sadness as you go through there.
Okay.
Sadness, grief, that whole piece. So
okay.
I'm the guy you invite to the party to bring it down, right? What a bummer this guy is.
We should talk about all the sad books. But there's always some sadness in it. But I think it's like there's something to be learned or to be said with that. Like, because it really sticks with us. So we pause, we think about it. That's so powerful when a book can bring you to that emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is true. I tease, but yeah, there needs to be some kind of emotion in a book to connect with it, and that's a great thing when you make that connection with. I know how it is to make a connection with a book, as a reader, not yet as an author. I'm still working on it. I think I've got like 50 pages done. And the more I write, the longer it becomes. So it's gonna be a long one. I'm gonna have to. I may have to turn it into 2 books. So, but because awesome. Everything I write, it's like, oh, I need to put this in the book too, and so I'll add something in one of the other sections, and like, oh yeah, and I need to put this in too. So yeah, I've got a lot of work to do. But which is great because I'm also going to school, and I have a real job as opposed to this whole podcasting thing. Although I got another willing victim to go 1-to-1 with me on a podcast. So so yeah, this guy. It's
nice to have a few things on the go. Yeah, I was gonna say it's fun to have a few things on the go.
Yeah.
They're like, because I find like the day-to-day job doesn't kind of satisfy all those maybe like creative and artistic needs. So podcasting, writing, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And, I would, especially the podcasting. Here you go. I'm going to take you down that deep, dark path again, but I find it to be therapeutic.
Yeah. I am a bit of a therapist, I guess. But,
absolutely, aren't we all?
Yeah, sometimes, and we definitely need to. Oh, okay, good. Sorry, just everybody froze for a second. But yeah. So let's see. So let's start out with what you all are doing. I did. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
You're freezing up on us.
Sorry about that. So, Doug, what are you working on these days?
Yeah, you're back. I actually had this morning. I had a mentoring session, and so I made this list of what I was currently working on. So very timely that you should ask, but quite a bit of it's centered around podcasts. So because I was on a podcast on Monday, I did a pre-podcast interview. I think it was Tuesday. And then I'm doing some very interesting work with an organization in the province of Alberta, Harmonized Health, where I'm mentoring one of the key people that's involved in that particular project. And then I've got some other mentoring related things that are coming down the pipe, here in the next couple weeks, couple months. Yeah. And then, of course, I probably should address the fact do it now rather than later, is that I'm still working. Yes, I am still working on my next
Okay.
book, and
Okay, very
we
cool.
are in the edit
Okay, so
of
you're
the
editing the
manuscript
second
version
version
2.
of your book. Okay. Okay, I wanted to make sure of that. So generally, how many editing sessions do you
Correct.
do with a given book, with a given project?
Well, with this one,
Okay.
it's until the person that I'm working with, until they say we're done. So it's just keep making and you know what's interesting for me is that I, as a result of some of the questions that he posed and stuff like that, I did some more research, got some more content, got some content that is how would I, very emotionally laced. Of course, we all kind of figured that I was going to go down that rabbit hole, but it was, long story short, it actually was at a time when my wife, who was, I lost to cancer in 2021, and we were actually sitting in the hospital, and I could actually visualize that taking place and what the doctor had said and how I'd copied it all down and sent it off to everybody. And when I came across that, I found that I revisited that whole scenario
Sure.
all over again.
Sure, I can feel that.
It
Yeah, I
was
lost
it was a tough
my best
read for
friend
me.
to cancer in 2019, and not quite the same, but I can see where you are from here. So definitely, yeah, a tough thing to do. But okay, no, that's great. Yeah, being able to use that to help others certainly would be a great thing, a great memorial, if you will. So, okay, Kaylee, how about you? What are you working on?
I guess kind
cool.
of similar, like doing different kind of podcasting appearances and stuff, and getting asked to do kind of speaking events. Now that my book is out and it's been out for a little bit, people are reaching out to say, "Hey, can you come, chat with our group about these topics of like women and finances and empowering women with finances?" So I have a lot of that on the go upcoming over the next few months, which is really exciting. I love the actual like teaching element, because you write the book and you can hope people are reading it and enjoying it, but when you're doing those sessions, you get some actual real-time feedback and people asking questions, and you can be it's more dynamic and more that you can address some specific, I think, burning money questions that people have and whatnot. So I really love that. Like, I love the element of teaching these topics to people, and that's why I wrote the book. But getting to do it real time on these sessions is fabulous. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. I'm really glad that people are, being cognizant of this and really wanting to bring this in, like it's companies wanting to bring this into their organizations and women's groups and things like that. So they're seeing the need that, hey, we need to talk more about money and have these conversations, and financial literacy is really important, and everyone's impacted when it comes to their money and finances. So let's take steps and take action. So I love it.
Great,
like, it feels
great.
like that's happening,
Yeah,
and
there's
that's
something
all
to
I
be
want
said
to happen. Like, that's the
about
end goal.
live
That brings me a lot of joy.
Whether it's in front of teaching in front of a class, which I've done, or being on stage in front of an audience, which I've done that too. But that can be a little nerve wracking. Have you done any speaking engagements yet, or are those still in the future? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've done a lot.
Okay.
Maybe not to like massive groups,
Nice.
but I have done a lot. I used to do them like monthly at my office in the boardroom, and I'd get probably 40 women plus in those events. And I've done some bigger ones, and I teach an investing course as well, which I love. Because again, it's like a full day long. So amazing for them to come for that commitment of time. but it's so interactive and it's so fun to like engage and talk, and people leave it really ready to like, I'm going to take action, because that's the biggest piece as well, is, you know, we can talk about the money stuff and learn it, but where the results come is from taking action. So what can we do to get people to start taking these actions that they've maybe been too, you know,
Cool.
scared or afraid or intimidated to do. So it's really fun to do that. I love that side of what I do, or what I'm.
No, that's
I don't know,
that's awesome.
what I'm trying to teach or share, the knowledge that I can give to others.
You have a message, and you need to, it's your calling to get that message out to the people.
Yeah. And I think you have to remind yourself that, like, even when it resonates with one person, you're making an impact. Like, I think we always, you know, when you're doing these things, you think you have to go like really big and be in those audiences with thousands of people. And I think we have to remind ourselves, like, when it resonates with one person in one of these events, or two people, that's huge. And that's impacting someone's life that could have other elements, like getting feedback from my book and emails and things like that from women that are just like, I'm so glad I read your book, and I'm taking some of these steps to start investing and being more cognizant of, you know, where my money goes or whatever it is. It's amazing hearing that. And again, just knowing that, like,
Well,
one
you may
person,
have an impact.
so, I mean, usually it's more than one
No,
you're
go
going to
ahead.
reach, but even one person is an impact you're having.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Okay, you first.
Go ahead, Bill. I was no. Okay. I was just going to say, if you can make a difference, change someone's
life, remember that
just
one
person,
that you've only impacted one person.
It's all worth the
rather
journey.
that you've only impacted one person enough for them to want to email you, you know, about it. You know, you could easily have influenced 5 or 10, but yeah, most of those people aren't gonna take the time to say something. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to remember that too with like reviews. I'm like, well, where's the reviews, people? Like, put the reviews up. But you're like, no, I'm getting positive feedback, and I'm guilty of it too. I read amazing books, and I don't do reviews, so it's like lesson learned. I better start doing reviews.
Will pile up, and then eventually I'll just I'm gonna sit down and do a bunch of these.
Yeah, it makes such a difference, like for authors and creatives and, you know, small business. Like, this is something you can do that actually is really helpful. And it's, you know, usually these kind of entities have small marketing budgets. So this is how we can really help and support small businesses and authors and
or
local
comments.
talent. Like, it does mean so much. So hopefully audience listening, remember, do your reviews. If something has had an impact on you, especially.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah. Yes. It means a lot. No, it means so much. Sure. Yeah, it's nice to get the feedback. It does. It means more than people realize.
What else is going on with people? What can we talk about? Because I think I've beaten the World War III topic to death here on the show. And although that's pretty sad, no, I had a couple of guests on a while back that turned out they each had interest. They were very different people, but they each had interest in global politics, and we ended up talking about the possibilities of World War III. It was a really interesting conversation because it wasn't just you know, people watching the news going, oh, this is going to be, you know, this was people who were really interested in the subject. And so they'd done a lot of research on it, but yeah, that's definitely something that's been done to death.
Well, there's certainly when you're watching the news and that, I kind of look at it, I go, well, there's a person that could use a little mentoring. There's a person that could use a little mentoring.
How is the mentoring going with
yeah.
That's okay.
That's my pause. But that's okay. Yeah. It's like I do quite a bit of work with entrepreneurs, with young young entrepreneurs starting out with, trying to take their vision and turning it into a reality. So I do quite a bit of work with that,
Okay.
especially with the Sir Richard Branson program in the Caribbean.
Nice.
So I do some stuff with them and some stuff with the U.S. military as well, helping transition from service life to civilian life. So there's lots of opportunities, but I don't think we have reached a stage yet where we totally, number one, understand, number two, endorse or put into practice, even in our own organizations, the gift of mentoring. And more people need to do that. And as time goes on and you start to do more and more of that, you take that baby leader, that baby manager, and turn them into somebody who is going to be an extremely meaningful contributor to
I know
your
I'm a
organization
military brat,
and the people that you provide
so I've
service
seen a lot
to.
of guys try to make the transition from service to civilian, and that's a tough one because you get really used to not having to pick out what to wear in the morning, and among many much more important things, but it's a big deal, and there's a lot of good work being done to help those who have been in service, and and for sure we need to help those guys, but and gals.
Well, and a lot of us would be, excuse me, surprised or shocked at what service people have gone through.
Yeah,
and
family care is another important field because especially while they're in the service, because dad or mom can be thousands of miles away for a long period of time at some points, and I remember during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, my dad was out of town, and we had to go on doing stuff without him. Thankfully, my mother was quite skilled in making sure things like bills were taken care of. But yeah, it was there was definitely an impact, especially with my youngest brother and my little sister, because they were much younger than we were at the time. There's a 10-year age gap there between my sister and myself. But interesting programs out there that I hope people avail themselves of, and and all. But and Kaylee, what else are you working on, or is it all about the book these days?
It's all about well, not just the book. I think just building financial confidence and empowerment. I like what Doug said about the young people in entrepreneurship. I think that's a really interesting topic in place, because it's interesting to think of career paths and what people are going to do, and the finance element of it, entrepreneurship. There's a lot of risk and fear in that side of things. So I think that's neat of the work you're doing there. If anything, entrepreneurs can really use that support and help, because it can feel very lonely as an entrepreneur, and that's not always ideal for some people. You want kind of a sounding board or someone to bounce ideas off of, and things like that. So I think that's amazing.
Are really going toward that in much greater numbers, just because of a combination of not wanting to be beholden to some corporation, and just the fact that people aren't satisfied with their jobs. You find do you find that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think of the
yeah.
Well, I was going to say too, the impact of student loan debt in the United States and how massive that is. And so maybe that isn't a path for a lot of people. You start to do the math of the opportunity cost of how much some people are investing in education and how much they're going to be making in the working world, in that field. And sometimes it just doesn't financially make sense, or it's going to take years and years and years or decades to pay it off with these careers and stuff. So I think entrepreneurship is really interesting, and it's challenging the belief that you need to go to this, standard like university institution and things like that. I think there's so many other ways that people are learning, and a lot more hands-on is happening. So yeah, I think of like my daughter and stuff. She's 9 and she's like, I'm not going to university. Like, okay. I mean, I would love her to, but it's just, it's interesting to know that there is other very
that trade
successful
schools
paths
are making
out
a
there.
comeback.
For people that don't,
people are going to into various physical trades and whatnot, which is a great thing, because we need those people too. Out here in southeastern Missouri, it is almost impossible to get an appointment with a tradesperson like a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter. We have holes in our roof. We need a carpenter. But just apprenticeships too.
Man.
That's a thing that's kind of gone to the wayside. But from the Dickensian times and whatnot. But we need to get back to that, I think. But okay.
I was just going to add that the one young lad that I'm working with, who is a U.S. military service person, is going back to school. I've convinced him to go back to school, which he said, well, that's not my forte. And I said, well, let's figure out something that, when you get up in the morning, throw both feet on the floor, that you're excited to go and do something. What would it be? And he said, well, I like working on cars. So we've got him he's going through and going to become an automotive technician. And he's just to feel the energy that comes from him on a daily basis now when we have a conversation, it was the right move, and the right move for him to go down. And we talk about student loans and all of that. He's fortunate in that most of his stuff will be covered by Veteran Affairs. So all his tuition and everything will be looked after. So he's in a good place.
That's amazing. And like what you said, that concept of like, I was going to say just that concept of like, getting out of bed and getting excited. Like, I think everyone really needs to assess and reassess that. And that's been on my mind a lot lately, because I deal with money and finances, and a lot of the times it's putting money away for this idea of retirement. And it's almost like sometimes people are pushing off like this level of like happiness that they think they're going to have. And it's like, okay, when I'm, retired, I'll be able to do this, and that. And it's like, how can we live like a wealthy life now? Because the reality is, our time on this planet is limited. So if you can get out of bed every day and enjoy it, like, I think this idea of wealthy living, rather than thinking it's, you're only going to achieve this happiness or this status when, and oftentimes it's linked to a financial goal of like, when I'm retired and I have enough finances and I'm free and I can do what I want with my time. I think we need to find more ways to just make that happen now in our lives. And not focus so much, or not put all the focus on like, I would be happy when I achieve my retirement age and then I have my freedom. It's like, how can you be happy right now? And if it doesn't mean a big shift or pivot, then maybe that's what you need to do. Because I think we need to like create, like, what is it you look forward to in retirement? I think a lot of people, it's like freedom, flexibility. Well, how can you do those things right now in your life instead of thinking like one day? That's my big sort of thought lately. Because being in the finance field, I don't ever want people to think that like, almost like that,
I
that
remember,
happiness is on the other side.
I took Dave Ramsey's course years and years ago, and I remember one of his things was live like no one else now, so you can live like no one else later. And basically, give up the thought of having a wealthy life. It's like you don't get to go out to eat because you want to be able to go out to eat when you're retired. And and but yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's diligent to be putting some money away for future you. And that's more of like, planning for the unknown and all that. But we need to be living, because the reality I see is that people do pass away before their retirements. And you see all this hard work they've put in, and they don't even get to enjoy that or utilize it. So I think we have to
Yep.
balance that out. We can't live this life where you're like, nope, I'm going to, sacrifice and do, nothing fun, no
Yeah.
vacations, and then I'll be okay. That just sounds, I don't know. That's no fun. It's like a sad book.
And is it, because I think of my parents, and I think of my father-in-law, who hoarded all his money, his investments and everything, and tucked it
Yeah.
into the mattress and all of that. Never got to enjoy the money at all.
No.
And certainly the children benefited from that, but would you be more happier if they if they'd have gone on a few more trips and gone to visit some of the family, and some of the things like that? Would that have meant more than getting a check from from the estate?
Yeah.
It just I don't know. I've made a point of telling my kids that if you're looking for an inheritance, here it is, and I'm just going out to spend it now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would believe that, because that's your hard-earned money, and you've worked for it, and as if they're adult children, they can do the same. It should be enjoyed. You're right. I see that too. It's like people who have all these assets and amazing, and they worked hard. But yeah, you should be able to enjoy it and have that balance and enjoy it now. And I think your family would rather have had those experiences with you, because those are memories that stay with us, and yeah, you can go back on them and just remember how fun it is. We were just in Disney, me and my daughter, and I love it. And I said to my mom, you got to come to Disney with us. And she's just like, no, I don't love traveling. Da, da, da. And I'm like, no, you're coming. And we booked a trip for March, and I'm taking her for her birthday. And I'm so excited. That's always been a goal of mine, to be able to take do these things for my mom too, and give back. And I'm so excited. And it's like, well, yes. And it costs money, and it's not cheap necessarily, but to me, that's a good use of money that aligns with my values of experiences and adventure and getting to spend time with the people I love.
And we actually put a price on memory, on a memory like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think so.
Because I remember
Nice.
for Deborah's 50th birthday, her sister and brother-in-law surprised her and took her to Disney. And it was like turning a little kid loose in this great big park. And she did all the rides, and she dragged her sister and brother-in-law along to all these different rides and stuff that I did not have the stomach to go on. And but there's a memory, and it's, you're going to have fun. You'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. I'm like, they call it the happiest place on earth for a reason, Mom. You gotta experience it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that concept of, for everyone listening like that, what can you do where it's where you can get out of bed and feel excited? Because I do. I'm always excited for, or I'm not dreading it. I don't wake up and go oh, I gotta do this and this again. So I think everyone needs that, that in their lives. If everyone can kind of think, what would that take for me? And it's sometimes just following a passion that they were maybe too scared to do, or something like that.
Yeah, purpose. I think if more of us were able to identify what our calling, our purpose is, that would certainly help us in getting both feet on the floor and start going. Because then you can you get excited and energized about things that today I'm going to accomplish this, and this is going to take me this much further towards my passion or towards my calling, and that. And yeah.
What do you think it is though, for people looking for, trying to find their purpose? To me, that's a big question mark too. What does it take? What do people need to do if they are struggling and can't really, if it doesn't feel to them like they know or they've found it yet?
So I would be asking questions, and one of the questions I would be asking is, what is it that you cannot do without? And so you'll get all sorts of varying different answers and stuff like that from that. But how I try to get people when we start talking calling and purpose is, you know, if you were given the opportunity to change one person's life, what would that look like? And then how could you change your life, and what would that look like? And what's important to you in in helping tomorrow be a better day than today was? And a large part of that is I've been speaking to people that I'm mentoring lately, and we talk about reflection. And reflection is the aspect of what went well, what didn't go well, and what will I do different next time. And I think we need to capture as much of that as we can and use that in creating or putting into practice our calling, so that we can move forward and make a difference in our own lives, but also in the lives of others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think those are like
I
really
had to kind
good,
of
deep questions for
do
people to
that
think about.
myself this last year, because I'd been working on this AI project, and I really wasn't into it. And and it's like we had all these problems and everything, and even though we finally got up and running, I'm like, that's not my thing. That's not what's exciting me to get out of bed in the morning, and so I had to let the fear go of striking out completely on my own for it, and so now I'm writing the book and getting ready to start a leadership mastermind, and hopefully that'll go well. But how do you get over the fear of doing something that excites you? Fear of success, fear of failure, all of those great things. Uh, you know, but how do you get over that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think for me, like what Doug said, like when you find the thing you really want to do, it's almost like you just go for it, even when, you don't. Like for me, when I was started my financial advice business, I was a single mom. My daughter was like 1 year old. I was a woman in an industry that's very male dominated, and all the, sort of statistics point to like, you will fail, you're not going to make it. And I did. And, my business is like doing very well, and here I am today. And I love what I do. But I think I went in it like telling myself like failure isn't an option. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And I was like, I have to, like, it has to succeed, because I'm, I have to put a roof over my head, me and my daughter's heads. And, this is something that I have to do. So I think it was like, it's almost like the finding what you want to do, it like overpowers the insecurities and the fears. So that's almost like a stronger force. Cause I even think on talks like this, and like you were saying, going, having talks and teaching courses, I'm like a major introvert, and growing up, all like, if people were to describe me, it's like she's quiet, she's shy. And so I'm still though doing these speaking things that aren't really, by nature what necessarily feels good. Like there is a lot of fear and anxiety in doing those events, but I think it's like my passion for like the subject and the topic and what I can share is like stronger than that, so it overpowers it. So I think it's like doing some of the questions and work that Doug mentioned. If you can do those for yourself and start taking that path towards it, it's almost like that's like a stronger driving force than the fear, and it like overpowers the fear.
Yeah, and I think we need to not focus so much on the failure part, but see that as an opportunity.
Yeah. Like, and it's just part of the process. I would tell myself, hey, it's just part of the process. Like I'd get rejected nonstop. And I'm like, that's okay. That's supposed to happen. And when you tell yourself that's supposed to happen, it's almost like, oh, okay. Like then you get through it. But it's like fear. It's like we're scared of the fear itself. But when we just feel it and just go, yeah, of course that's going to happen, it almost gets you through it a little bit faster, and just going like, yeah, that's part of the process. For sure there's going to be fear. For sure there's going to be failure. Like there's 100% chance you're going to have some sort of failure along the way. But just knowing that that's part of the process, I think kind of helps get you through it, knowing like, okay, this is to be expected.
My favorite saying is failure, or the word fail is first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good one.
yeah, if I stumble and fall, I'm going to pick myself up and learn something from that. It's an opportunity that, is presenting itself perhaps in a different fashion than what I would like, but as long as I take that step back and learn from it, use it as a learning opportunity, then failure is really nothing to be concerned about.
No. Like it's and everyone has like all the big success stories, and it's unfortunate, we only get to hear sort of the end product of, they're the billionaires, the millionaires, and their companies are massive, but we don't get to hear the messy, icky stuff of when it all, started out and how many times they failed and had to change course, and how scary it can be sometimes. So I think, we have to also know that in our world of like social media and whatnot, we're kind of getting all the good stuff. We're getting like the filtered pictures and images and stories, and we're not getting like the icky, parts that got you there, unfortunately. But it's that people like the very filtered versions, the end product more, I guess.
Yeah, I always liked the 20-year overnight success. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know a few musicians, and it's like, yeah, it took me 20 years to have the success, and yeah, it's it takes time and work and effort and perseverance to
Yeah.
keep going.
I don't think no one's patient enough anymore. Like our whole society, there's no patience anymore for anything. We want everything now, right? We ordered
Right.
the Amazon package and we're like, that better be out later today, not even tomorrow. I want it today. That's my daughter. She's 9, and it's like she wants things now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think of myself as a kid, and how I was like, when I was a kid and I wanted something, I had to save up for it. I saved up for things for like a year, sometimes one whole year. And I'm like, you just don't even comprehend what that would be like. So I think we have to remind ourselves, like, look at the actual timeline. If it takes that and go, oh, okay, I've only been doing this or doing these things for, several weeks or months. And that's nothing on the whole spectrum of things. Like you said, like it takes hours and years to perfect things sometimes.
Yeah, the 30 seconds in the microwave just takes way too long.
Too long.
But it tastes good.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully.
I love the microwave. Yeah. I'm very impatient because the microwave is my go-to.
Yeah. Watched pot never boils. So yeah. And all the other old-fashioned sayings of being patient.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it comes down to the perseverance. If you don't get it right away, you don't give up. And if it's still exciting enough to get you out of bed in the morning, then it's definitely worth getting out of bed tomorrow morning.
Yeah, if it's still exciting you and lighting you up and you're just like feel frustrated, not figuring it out, it's like, I think that's still an indication that you have this like burning desire. There's something there. So it's like, keep going, because maybe you find some sort of creative pivot and way to still do whatever that thing is.
Yeah. The pivot is an important option. I think that people don't take enough of an opportunity to explore. I've pivoted the podcast several times to make it work, and now I think I finally found the formula, and now it's time to actually do publicity and and promotion and get it moving.
Yeah. 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 Especially in like creative endeavors. They're interesting. Like writing a book, that's interesting. And yeah, you probably know a lot about it too. But writing a book is a really interesting journey because you think it's just the writing, which is like a massive, like endeavor to get through. But then afterwards, you have to do all this work of like marketing and putting it out there. And it's so vulnerable and it feels weird. And I don't know. It's not like I ever would have thought it would be, but it's been a really interesting experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, you definitely have to, like, so many people, when I say like I wrote this book or my book's come out, so many people say I've always wanted to write a book or I have this idea. It's like everyone's response, and I'm like, well, then just do it. Like you have the idea. And yeah, like we said, like it could take you years. Just do it in the background of what you're doing every day. Write a little bit on the weekends or whenever you find time. Like there's no time frame. If it's just something you're like, I've always wanted to do it, well, get it done within 10 years. It doesn't matter. Right. No one's like standing there waiting on a deadline for you. So if it's something you always wanted to do, though, I'm like, then you should do it. Of course you should. And there's no like right way or wrong way. You kind of figure it out, and anyone can do it. It's just like different iterations and edits and things like that. That's the really neat part I thought about writing. I thought at first you have to be like genetically, a good skilled writer, and certain people are and they aren't. But I think, if you have the passion and you have the idea, it's just a matter of keeping like different like changing it in different versions. And like my book, the first, like the outline and what it started as is not what it became at all. So it changes a lot in the process too. So that too is a really interesting thing that I think people can kind of, I don't know, learn from the creatives. I feel like there's a lot of different lessons there.
Yeah. Well, one of them for sure, and you kind of touched on it there, is in our society, people tend to praise more highly the naturally talented than those who have to work at it, but they still get to the same place. It's especially true in sports. I mean, somebody who's really tall and has big hands, might be naturally good at basketball, but somebody who's a little shorter and has slightly smaller hands might have to work at it, but they're still going to get to the same place, of excellence. Kobe Bryant showed up to practice early and stayed late. He had a thing he called the practice before the practice, and it's like just because you don't think you're naturally talented at something shouldn't mean that you shouldn't go after it. Just because it's work, no. I mean, it's still worthwhile.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like the writing process didn't come natural to me at all. Yeah. But I wanted to write a book about money for women. So I'm like, okay, it doesn't feel comfortable. It's not natural, but this is the end thing I want to do. So I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to keep doing it and keep writing. And somehow it's going to come together and be something. And it does if you just keep going, like little steps. Make progress. It's this compounding that we can't understand. Like even in the world of money, when you tell people, like if you keep saving this much a month, it doesn't feel like a big difference, but you're investing, it's growing. And then all of a sudden you have this big pile of money. So same thing with your like efforts and what you're doing on the day-to-day basis. And yeah, it's amazing what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. When you work at it.
Well, and go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, even if it's as simple as just throwing words on a piece of paper and keep doing that I started to pack a little black book around, and anytime something would pop into my head, I'd write it on one of the pages. And as long as I did that, number one, I wouldn't lose sight of that idea. And number two, it gave me the courage to continue on with the writing journey, and the fact that well, this isn't bad. I think I can do this. Maybe I wonder what I should do differently. Maybe I should budget so much time a day to do some writing. And then that's what I started to do. And then, everything just started to unfold from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do it on my phone, like the notes section, if I have an idea, because you never know when it's going to come to you, right? So you got to be like ready. You're at the grocery store and you're like, oh, this is an idea. And you're pause, write it down. But yeah, for the writing process, I would show up to my computer and have not a clue. Like, I'm like, I have nothing, no ideas to write today, but I would still sit there. And I'm like, even if I get a sentence done, that's progress. So always something happened, more than a sentence too. So it's amazing how it works when you just show up.
Yeah. Yeah. And are willing, to do the work. Cause you never know what's going to happen. And, if you start writing your book now, then you'll be writing more than you would have if you hadn't started writing. It wouldn't exist at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so many steps. If you like have a word written down, you're many steps ahead of the people that are just like, I've always wanted to write a book. You're like, well, I got a few words written down.
I started
and that's
writing my
one
book.
step ahead of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had. I've interviewed a lot of authors on this show, and I didn't say, oh, I've always wanted to write a book, because I really didn't. Although I did do some creative writing when I was a kid, that was all right. But people kept saying, you need to write a book. You've obviously got a book in you, and you've got something inside you that needs to get out and be shared with the world. Maybe it's not the great American novel. Maybe it's just a picture of your story. Some people I've interviewed, some people I've had on the show, they've written a book specifically for a specific person. Usually a child. And it's like, I wrote it for them, and so I went ahead and published it in case other people wanted to. But I'm satisfied that my child's going to read it. One gentleman that had on not too long ago, he actually has his son's copy of his book. He's already done an imprint and written something specific to him, but he put it in a box and sealed it up and put it away. So when his son's old enough to appreciate it, then he'll get it. And
Get it. Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yep. But you're moving. You moved, Kalee. That's okay. I have to keep moving too. As comfortable as my seat is, a certain part gets sore if I stay still too long.
I'm always fidgeting.
No, that's so true. I mean, whatever it is you have that's in you, or if it's something that somebody else has in front of you. This is something I've run into recently. I do normally. My dad's got RSV right now, but normally I do 2 podcasts a week with my father, and not too long ago, yes, it's called YWL Online, and you should check it out. Let's see, but when I got to southeastern Missouri, because that's where they live too, my parents, that is. The conversation kind of swung around to acting, and years ago I thought I was going to be a professional actor, and my dad said for the first time ever, "Yeah, I really wish you had continued pursuing that." I'm all like, why didn't you say that to me before? When I was actually doing it, when it was actually something that could be in the cards, although I appreciated him saying it in the first place, but yeah, it's like, be a source of encouragement for other people, too. Did anybody encourage you guys to pursue? I know, Doug, you encourage people to pursue. whatever their dreams are. But did anybody encourage you to pursue your dreams?
And I don't know if writing a book was a dream or not, but I did for both books. I was encouraged to so a gift of mentoring and You Are Not Alone. For both of those, there was that gentle push in a forward direction to say, you need to get your message out there, and you can do that through writing a book, which I kind of find humorous because the people that suggest that don't know much about writing a book. And so they think that it's just wave the magic wand and it'll happen. No.
Yeah. There's a lot of, as you do know, there's a lot of editing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Just when you think you're done. Yeah. You're definitely not done.
No.
Yeah. You reached the end. You wrote the end at the end of the book. That must mean something. Elfine. But nope. No, maybe at the end of my book, I'll write the end once for every time it goes through editing.
Yeah.
But
I thought, based on my first experience, that, well, this isn't going to be too bad. So I designed the book, or I had the book cover designed, and it may end up changing.
Yep.
And I'm going like, why did you do that?
Yeah, jumping ahead. I liked learning that, though, about the writing process. I remember while I was writing my book, and yeah, it feels like, for me, it was hard to realize that, like, the first version is not necessarily it's not the end, for sure. You got lots more to do. But I remember the time I was reading a fiction book, and I was reading the acknowledgments, and she said something like, this was my, 13th version of the book, and thanks for everyone for sticking with me. And I'm like, wow, okay. So that is normal. Like, when you get to see and hear that, that's really nice, because you're just doing it and you're thinking, oh, you're supposed to produce this, well polished end result, and that's not the case. So it's normal that there's lots of versions, and amazing books come out of that. So I think that was really nice for me to hear on my journey. It helped kind of push me ahead and go, oh, okay, keep going, keep persevering, because it's not going to be the first version.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why it's called the first draft.
Yeah.
We've gone amazingly about an hour, and that's usually pretty good. But always leave them wanting more, and so I think I'll call it. But before we do go, do either of you have final words for the nice people?
What are my final words? I think, spend time focusing on your passions and what lights you up. Like, I think that's a big part of the messaging of our chat here today, is like, if you can find that or do something that does, that's fabulous. I love hearing that. So that would be my one little tidbit.
Okay. And what's the name of your book?
And for me, it would be, sorry,
no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was yeah, because at my age, they're gone. So it would be, number one, thank you for listening to the show, and more importantly is the fact that every day from this day forward, when you get up in the morning, put both feet on the floor and move forward towards the light that shines, which is your passion, your calling, and head towards that light.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, Doug.
That is good. That's great. And then, Kalee, the name of your book?
It's called Make Money Your Thing.
Okay. And I'll have the link to it in the description, so people can go out and get their copies, and then hire you to come and do a speaking engagement. And Doug,
I'll be scared, but I'll do it.
And then Doug, what about yours?
Yeah, it's You Are Not Alone, and it's available on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. And please pick up your copy.
Okay. So I'd like to thank you both, Doug Lawrence and Kalee Boisvert. I love saying that now. That definitely has a certain thing. And I'd like to thank you both for being on the show. And you, the viewers and listeners, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and putting up with me. So remember to be safe out there, wash your hands, and stay tuned for the ending credits. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank our producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch.
I, of course, am your humble host.
I'd also like to thank my special guests, Kalee Boisvert, a financial literacy advocate and author of 2 books about money, and Doug Lawrence, a certified international mentor who is focused on mentoring as part of the support structure for mental health and grief.
Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered.
Be sure to tune in next time when my special guest will be Kleber Binaun, who has written a guidebook for those seeking a great partner, and Alyssa Abraham, who is CEO of Faith and Sparkles World and is an empowered leadership coach. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people.
If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States.